When Angel Reese quit the WNBA abruptly mid-season with zero warning and even less explanation, you might have expected some kind of reaction from the league. A press conference, a statement, a show of leadership, maybe? Nope, nothing. No WNBA official came forward to say, "This isn't what our league stands for." No accountability, no clarity, no reassurance to fans, teammates, or future players.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
The most high-profile walkout in recent memory, and the league treated it like it was just another Tuesday. And that silence? It wasn't neutral. It was complicit, because by staying quiet, by letting the drama swirl unchallenged, by allowing social media to run wild with fan-made narratives of empowerment and queen energy, the WNBA sent a very clear message. We're afraid to hold our stars accountable. And look, we get it. Angel Reese is box office. She brings eyeballs. She trends. She's got followers, style, a brand. She's part of that new generation of players who are as much a product as they are a person. She helped drive viewership and ticket sales. But when she quit, in the middle of a season, during a playoff push, after refusing to suit up for 3 straight games, the league said nothing. And by doing so, they protected the brand. Not the team. Not the league's integrity. Not the game. They protected the spectacle. Angel Reese didn't just quit the Chicago Sky. She quit the fight. And not just the fight for her team, but the fight for what women's basketball is supposed to represent. And yet somehow, in the hours and days after she walked away, you would have thought she had just won MVP. She was celebrated, applauded, reposted, and retweeted like she had done something historic. And she did do something historic, just not in the way fans want to believe. She turned quitting into a PR campaign, and the league let her. Let's be clear, Reese refused to suit up for the final 3 games of the season. That's not rest. That's not recovery. That's not stepping back to focus on mental health, at least not in any clearly communicated way. That's disengagement. That's walking away from your team, your commitment, and your responsibility as a professional athlete. That's quitting. And somehow, instead of being treated like the self-centered, unprofessional decision that it was, it got flipped into a feminist fairy tale. She's protecting her peace. She's setting boundaries. She's choosing herself. And sure, on Instagram, that might sound cute. But this isn't a self-care blog. This is professional sports. You don't get to walk out on your team, disrupt the locker room, spark a firestorm of chaos, and expect applause. You get criticism. You get questioned. You get held to a standard. But Angel, she's been protected, not just by her fans, but by the very institution that's supposed to uphold fairness and professionalism, the WNBA. You'd think, with all the momentum women's basketball has right now, with Caitlin Clark breaking records with packed arenas, with endorsements flooding in, the league would be desperate to maintain credibility. But instead, they're leaning into the noise, letting the chaos speak louder than the competition. And Reese's exit? It was the loudest yet. She didn't just leave the court. She left the culture. Because what she did was tell the world, intentionally or not, that when things stop going your way, when you're not the center of attention, when the cameras stop flashing and the stats aren't pretty, you can dip, and you'll still get love for it. That's not strength. That's entitlement. Let's talk about what this does to the locker room. Imagine being one of Reese's teammates. You've grinded all season. Long road trips, tight losses, early call times. You've sacrificed your body, your time, your mental space because you believe in the team, in the league, in each other. And then one of your star players just disappears, doesn't show up, doesn't explain, just leaves. And suddenly the headlines aren't about the team anymore. They're about her. About how brave she is for walking away. About how this is some sort of statement. What does that do to the locker room culture? What does that do to morale? To trust? It shatters it. And the WNBA? Instead of standing behind the players who stayed, the ones who showed up and kept fighting, they stayed quiet. They let Angel Reese hijack the season's final chapter, and they let her walk out with a hero's edit. Let's not pretend this isn't a problem, because this kind of behavior doesn't just affect one team, it affects the whole league. It tells players, especially the younger ones, that walking out isn't just acceptable, it's admirable. It tells future stars, you don't owe your team anything. Just focus on the brand. And here's the bigger issue. It tells fans that the sport isn't stable. Because how can you expect fans to invest their time, energy, and money into a team, into a league, when the biggest stars can vanish mid-season and no one in power even blinks? You want to grow the WNBA? Then act like a league. Set the tone. Set the standard. Right now, the message is do what you want as long as it gets clicks. And that is terrifying, because basketball is supposed to be about more than buzz. It's about the fight, the grind, the unseen work, the injuries you play through, the slumps you battle, the team-first mentality you adopt, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Angel Reese didn't just leave a team. She left a lesson behind. That fame wins. That walking away mid-story is more powerful than finishing what you started. And if the WNBA doesn't speak up soon, that's the legacy they're going to build around her exit. Not accountability, not leadership, just a loud exit and a league too scared to say anything about it. So here's your wake-up call, WNBA. You're standing at crossroads. You could be the league that promotes spectacle over substance. Or you can protect the game, not the brand, not the noise, not the trending hashtags. The game, the one built by women who showed up even when no one was watching. By players who never got the glory but still gave everything. By legends who earned their place by finishing what they started, not quitting when the cameras turn away. So what do you think? Was Angel Reese's exit a power move or a cop-out? Should the league have said something? Did this hurt women's basketball? Or just expose the rot underneath the surface? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're tired of the chaos being glorified while dedication gets ignored, hit that subscribe button. Because we're not here to play nice. We're here to call it like it is. This isn't just another walk-off. This is a warning shot. And if the WNBA doesn't answer it, then what's left won't be a league. It'll be a stage. And every player will be performing for a spotlight that won't stick around. What we're witnessing isn't a player leaving a team. We're witnessing a slow-motion collapse of accountability in real time, wrapped in Instagram filters and sealed with a vague, I'm doing what's best for me post. And the people clapping from the sidelines? They're helping burn the house down. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Angel Reese quit. Not just physically, not just contractually, but spiritually. She exited the identity of a teammate, of a professional, of someone who showed up when it wasn't fun or easy or glamorous. And worse, she turned that exit into content, into currency. The WNBA, meanwhile, is trying to act like nothing happened, as if her absence is no big deal, as if one of their most marketable, most visible players walking away from the game like she was ducking out of a party early doesn't impact the credibility of the league. Let's not sugarcoat this. It absolutely does. Angel was supposed to be one of the faces of the league's new era. She came in with buzz, with fandom, with controversy, sure, but with promise. She represented the collision of pop culture and pro ball. She was outspoken, bold, and had the kind of Gen Z magnetism the WNBA had been begging for. But then, reality hit. She wasn't dominating on the court. She wasn't the top scorer. She wasn't the automatic starter. And instead of grinding it out, improving, adapting, fighting her way into becoming the player she could be, she walked. She didn't just leave the team. She ghosted the growth. And let's talk about what that means for the actual sport of basketball. See, greatness doesn't happen when everything's going your way. Greatness shows up in the dog days of the season, when your legs are tired, when the headlines stop, when the hype fades. That's where legends are made. Not during viral moments, but in the quiet, thankless stretches of struggle. Angel skipped that part. She skipped the hard stuff, and then turned around and expected flowers for it. That's not resilience. That's repackaged selfishness being sold as self-care. And yes, this is bigger than one person. Because what's happening is this dangerous, seductive rebranding of quitting as taking control of your narrative. It's the influencerification of sports. The idea that performance is secondary to personal brand. That what you post matters more than what you play. Angel Reese didn't just bend that trend. She jumped into it head first. And now we've got young fans watching this play out, thinking that walking away from your obligations, ghosting your team, and spinning into a cute carousel post is powerful. No, it's performative. And it's eroding everything that sports are supposed to teach. Discipline, sacrifice, commitment, grit. You know, those boring, unglamorous values that don't go viral but actually make champions. Let's flip the perspective. Let's say you were on the sky. You're busting your butt day in and day out. You're watching tape, managing injuries, battling through losses. And then your teammate, the one who gets the most attention, the one with the biggest platform, just doesn't show up. No heads up, no locker room talk. Just disappears and then goes viral for it. How does that feel? It feels like betrayal. It feels like your work doesn't matter. It feels like the only thing that does matter is clout. And that kills team chemistry. It drains morale. It creates resentment. It tells every other player, you don't matter unless you trend. In a league, instead of stepping in to protect the team, instead of making an example of professionalism, they just duck their heads and pray it blows over. But here's the thing, it won't blow over. Not really, because now there's a blueprint. Now other players, especially those coming in with large followings and nil baggage, are taking notes. They're watching how the league didn't respond, how it rewarded silence with spotlight. And if you think this won't happen again, buckle up. We're staring down the pipeline of an entire generation of athletes who've been raised on branding over backbone. And Angel Reese just showed them how to cash out without finishing the game. And look, this isn't about silencing women. It's not about hating on confidence or tearing down success. It's about calling out the truth. Angel Reese's exit from the WNBA wasn't a moment of empowerment. It was a moment of avoidance. A moment where a player with massive potential chose the narrative over the grind. And maybe that works for now. Maybe the followers will keep growing. Maybe she'll get brand deals, TV spots, podcasts. Maybe she'll even circle back later and act like this was all just part of the journey. But when you look at the legends of the game, players who built empires not from drama, but from dedication, you realize something. Angel Reese isn't writing a legacy. She's chasing a storyline. And the difference? One lasts. The other trends for a weekend. So here's the question. Where does this leave the league? What's the WNBA's next move? Because the longer they stay silent, the more they tell us they care more about personalities than professionals. And if they keep allowing the culture of quitting to masquerade as empowerment, they're not just hurting their image, they're cannibalizing their own progress. Women's basketball has fought to get to where it is. It's clawed its way out of the shadows, demanded respect, demanded visibility. But visibility without credibility is just noise. And if your biggest stars are walking away mid-season and your league shrugs, that credibility crumbles. So to the WNBA, this is your moment. Set the tone. Decide who you are. Are you here to be an actual league, built on competition, accountability, and excellence? Or are you a reality show with a basketball subplot? Because you can't be both. And to Angel Reese, if you're watching, know this. We wanted to root for you. You had it all. The talent, the platform, the story. But greatness requires more than charisma. It requires character. It's not too late to come back, own it, and do it the right way. But right now, this isn't iconic. This is disappointing. The dust might have settled on Angel Reese's sudden exit, but the ripple effects? Oh, they're just getting started. And the silence from the league? That's not a blank space. It's an echo chamber. One that's bouncing back the same uncomfortable question. What happens to a league that rewards quitting over commitment? Because make no mistake, that's exactly what happened. Angel Reese quit, mid-season, during a crucial stretch, without explanation, and the WNBA let it slide. No disciplinary action. No public address. No real transparency. Just a PR black hole where accountability should have been. And that's not just weak, it's dangerous. Because what message does that send? Not just to fans, but to every player watching from the sidelines. To every high school athlete with a hoop dream. To every future WNBA star trying to figure out how this league works. The message is, the rules don't apply if you're loud enough. The consequences are optional if your name trends on Twitter. You can abandon your team, ghost your responsibilities, and re-emerge on a podcast a week later, smiling and unbothered, and the league will nod along like it's all part of the plan. But here's the truth. It's not part of the plan. Not for the players who grind without the spotlight. Not for the coaches trying to build a culture. Not for the fans who actually show up and support the league for the game. Not the drama. And definitely not for the credibility of women's basketball. Because this league has spent years, decades, fighting for visibility. Fighting for respect. Fighting to be seen as more than a niche sport. And the second it starts to gain traction, real traction, you have one of its biggest young stars walk away in the middle of the season like she's clocking out early from shift. That's not empowerment. That's an insult to the entire sport. And let's talk about that word, empowerment, because it's being thrown around like a get-out-of-accountability card. Let's be clear, empowerment is not abandonment. Empowerment is showing up when it's hard. Empowerment is pushing through when you're doubted. Empowerment is doing the work, even when the cameras aren't on. What Angel Reese did, that wasn't empowering. That was escaping. That was avoiding the pressure, the criticism, the competition. And yes, pro sports are hard. They should be hard. Not everyone's built for it. But if you walk away, be honest about it. Don't spin it into some inspirational poster. Because while she's being celebrated on social media, guess who's left doing the actual work? Her teammates. The ones who didn't quit. The ones who showed up for every practice, every film session, every long road trip. The ones who had to answer the press's questions, cover for the silence, and somehow keep morale high in a locker room that had just been gutted. You think that's easy? You think a team can function when its most famous face bails halfway through and turns her absence into a viral moment? It doesn't just fracture the team, it fractures trust. And once that's gone, it's not just a bad look. It's a culture problem. And culture problems are cancerous in sports. But here's what's really twisted. The WNBA knows this. And still, they stayed quiet. Because they didn't want the backlash. They didn't want to risk looking like they were punishing a young black woman for asserting herself. They didn't want to be seen as anti-empowerment. So they did nothing. They hid behind neutrality. And in doing so, they gave up control of the narrative to social media. And when Twitter becomes your commissioner, don't be surprised when chaos becomes your product. Because social media doesn't care about consistency or fairness or team dynamics. It cares about virality, about headlines, about outrage and applause and polarization. And Angel Reese, she played that game perfectly. But the WNBA isn't a social media feed. It's supposed to be a league with structure, standards, stability, or at least it used to be. Right now, it started to look like a stage. One where the rules change depending on your follower count. One where the drama off the court gets more attention than the games on it. And look, we're not saying athletes can't have personalities. They should. They need to. That's part of what makes sports exciting. But personality without professionalism, that's not a vibe. That's a liability. And that's what Angel Reese became in the final weeks of the season. A liability. A distraction. A loose thread that the league didn't have the courage to cut or the leadership to restitch. And don't think fans didn't notice. You could feel it in the comment sections, in the forums, in the conversations at games. People weren't just disappointed, they were worried. Because when a league rewards bad behavior, when it doesn't stand up for its own integrity, fans start asking the hard questions. Is this legit? Can I trust this league to be consistent? Why should I support a system that protects the drama over the discipline? And the scariest part? There's no good answer. Because right now, the WNBA doesn't look like a league building a future. It looks like a league clinging to viral moments. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. This sport deserves better. It deserves better from its stars. It deserves better from its leadership. It deserves better from a system that preaches empowerment but quietly rewards the opposite. Because if Angel Reese can walk away mid-season and be crowned a queen for it, what happens next time? What happens when another star decides to quit? Do we call that bravery too? Do we ignore the teammates left behind? Do we spin every exit into a motivational quote? Because if that's the road we're on, it's not going to lead to greatness. It's going to lead to chaos, to confusion, to collapse. And once the fans stop believing the league stands for anything at all, it's over. So here's your moment, WNBA. You can keep riding the wave of short-term virality and star worship, where you can plant your flag and say, this league stands for something. It stands for competition. It stands for accountability. It stands for the players who stay when it's hard, who show up when it's inconvenient, who don't quit just because the spotlight dims. Because that's how you build legacy. Not with likes, not with tweets, but with consistency. And Angel Reese, she had every opportunity to be a part of that. She had every opportunity to lead the new generation. She could have taken the criticism, the pressure, the challenges, and grown from it, fought through it, earned her place. But instead, she bailed, and she turned her exit into a spectacle. And she got praised for it, and the league said nothing. So now the question isn't just, why did she leave? It's, what are we all going to do about it? Because if we keep rewarding drama and turning our backs on the grind, we're not just losing players. We're losing the point. And if that happens, no amount of hashtags can save the game. Let's talk about impact. Not just on Reese's teammates, not just on the fans, but on the future. Because this isn't just about one player quitting. This is about what that moment teaches everyone watching. And the lesson? Quit early. Quit loud. Spin it into empowerment. And you'll be fine. That's not just a bad message. It's a dangerous one. Picture a 14-year-old girl who loves basketball. She's watching WNBA games, dreaming of making it there one day. She sees the hard work, the grit, the tears that go into every win. And then she sees this moment. Angel Reese, a superstar, leaving her team mid-season without a clear reason, and the world cheering for it like it was some kind of spiritual awakening. What do you think that girl learns? Not to fight through the slump, not to push past the noise, not to stand tall when the critics are loud. She learns that walking away gets more applause than digging in. And you know what? That's not entirely her fault, because we've created this culture. A culture that confuses quitting with healing. A culture that hands out standing ovations for dramatic exits, while the Real grinders get left in the shadows. But here's the twist. Sports don't care about your PR strategy. Sports don't care how big your following is, or how pretty your press release sounds. The game is unforgiving. It rewards those who stay, those who fight, those who evolve, not those who dip when it gets hard. Angel Reese had a chance to become that kind of player. She had a rare platform, a combination of hype, talent, controversy, and attention that most athletes dream about. She had the world watching, and instead of using that spotlight to rise, she used it to exit. And that's her choice. Sure, but choices have consequences, and this one should have had more. Not punishment, not cancellation, just honesty. From the league, from the media, from her own team. But we didn't get that. We got curated statements, distraction headlines. Fans told to move on. And here's what's wild. The people who did show up, the players who stayed, who fought, who actually carried the weight of the season, they didn't trend. They didn't get features in GQ. They just kept working, quietly, as real athletes do. So if no one else will say it, we will. They deserve better. Better leadership, better messaging, a better league that values commitment over chaos. And until that happens, these moments won't stop. Because if quitting gets you a crown, why would anyone bother chasing greatness? If you're as frustrated as we are, drop your thoughts in the comments. Should quitting ever be glorified in sports? Or are we watching the slow unraveling of accountability in real time? Subscribe for more no-fluff takes, because around here, we call it like it is, not like the PR team wants it to look.